called a fight or flight syndrome. And then the mind has another plan too. If that doesn't happen or handle it, then the mind just goes unconscious or pretends not to see. And that is what we see a lot around us, don't we? People into all sorts of distractions to keep them unconscious of what's actually going on in their lives. So, the mind is having a problem. And as long as mankind is associated with his mind, or believing what his mind tells him, then he's going to have some problems. On the other hand, there's a whole other system that we came here with, that you're born with. It's called your intuition. It's pretty obvious that everybody's going to go out of their mind pretty soon, because things are just going to keep on accelerating, and what you thought you were going to do 15 minutes ago, you can't do now because blah, blah, blah. The mind's just going to go, boom. Your intuition doesn't have any speed limit. It doesn't have any speed. Your intuition is your own connection to your inner knowing, your own personal knowing, which is part of all that can be known. It's sort of like this. We have, here's you, or your consciousness. Let's not even count your body right now. Let's just say, here's your consciousness, right here. Your consciousness is sort of like this. It's oriented. Your consciousness is always oriented by time and place. Time and place. As a matter of fact, it's happening right now. Some time ago, you heard about this talk. You decided to come to this time and place. And you made all the decisions and all the actions to make that happen. Congratulations and welcome. Here we are, in this moment of time and place. Now, this we call 3D. But 3D is an emanation from up here. We're going to call this fifth dimensional up here, 5D. This little star over here is all potential. It's everything that could possibly happen. Infinity, all that. And from that point, we can call it a point, is this flow, like this. It's this flow of event. And what we do is we receive this fifth dimensional flow comes out, or the fifth dimensional potential comes out through the fourth dimension into the third. Got it? Like step down. It comes out of all what could happen through time. It comes into manifestation at this time and place. Have you ever noticed that your intuition is pretty much always right? Have you?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed it's more right than your mind? Remember your second grade teacher, third grade teachers told you when taking a test, always use your first answer, because the second one's going to be wrong. That second answer came from your mind, people. The first answer came from your intuition. So your intuition is right a whole lot of the time. Why would that be? It's just possible that when you're in your intuition, when you are centered in this time and place, and you're in your intuition, doesn't it feel like you're on a track, or just like you're in the zone? In fact, there's a name for that. It's like athletes call it the zone. When you're in that zone, it just feels natural and like you just know the right thing to do. You're centered. When you're there, it's just possible that that's the staging for actually creating your future. Well, it would handily explain why your intuition was so right, wouldn't it? If you're creating your next moment, And we're going to look at how that might just be the fact. We see these in consecutive moments, but it's actually all a flow, or happening at the same time. This is creation's flow right here. Creation's flow. And what you do with your consciousness, or what can be done with your consciousness, is you can tune to this flow. Have you ever heard of the word entrainment? Entrainment is a scientific term for something that scientists can't really explain. It's how mechanical things, and certainly life organisms, go into syncopation together. You put two machines right next to each other, two clocks, two cuckoo clocks on the wall, or a whole line of them. You can get them all ticking and talking at different times, and in a week, they'll all be ticking and talking at the same time. That's called entrainment. Things getting into alignment. It's a very natural phenomenon. Well, this Mayan calendar was never a calendar. Never. It was always a meter. A meter of what? Creation. This, day by day by day, has been keeping track of the flow, the rate, and the intent of creation. Now, as a simple law, I think it's the one law in the universe. There's one law. And everything else comes from that. What you pay attention to, you become conscious of. You can't break that rule. Once you've paid attention to something, now you're conscious of it. Don't think of a pink elephant. That kind of thing. So, the whole purpose of this Mayan calendar for the whole Mayan civilization and us today is to, if you're paying attention day by day to the flow of creation, then what do you become conscious of? The flow of creation. And the flow of creation contains all that can be known, including your intuition. Does that make sense? I mean, if that's too simple, I'm not even sorry. Now, there's a way that we address 3D. And that is, from our time and place, we pay attention to what's in front of us, to what's actually there. Your mind has a hard time doing this, because your mind doesn't even exist in the present. It only exists either in the past or the future. You notice that? When you're really into exactly what you're doing, you're not thinking about nothing, are you? You're just doing it. Then, when you're not so into what you're doing, your mind is like off and running. Into the future, into the past, into the what may be and what could have been, should have. Ooh. We know too well that. But how you address 3D is by paying attention to the time and place that you're at. Then, we develop an intent, an intention. An intention is a focus of your attention. An intention. What is it that you desire in the next moment? This is where you're getting set up. Now, the better attention you're paying, the stronger your intention. Have you ever tried to play Frisbee with somebody who didn't want to play? They were not paying attention to what you wanted to do with it. So you throw them the Frisbee, and they get it, and they, oh, well, okay. Go pick it up, and then they just flip it. Well, they didn't have a very strong intention because they didn't really want to pay attention to what was going on right then. It's the same with paying your bills and all kinds of other things. Then, once you got the intention, then we have this one right here, which is really important. Integrity. Integrity. We address the physical universe with our own personal integrity. You say you're going to do something, you do it, don't you? That's your integrity. You paid attention, you got an intention, now it's time to use your integrity to bring it about. Without integrity, it doesn't happen. Then we have this down here. Intuition. Your intuition. Knowing the right thing to do at the right time. How many people in this room have been in an automobile accident? Or some sort of an accident that could have taken your life? Okay, how many people saw time slow down? Were you paying attention during those moments? You were doing nothing but paying attention, right? Did you have an intention? Oh, yeah. We're going to make it through this one with all of our parts. Did you have integrity? I don't see any missing parts. And intuition. Now, when you were in that moment, you were solidly in your intuition, weren't you? You knew exactly what to either do or not do to get through that, didn't you?
But it didn't happen with the mind.
It didn't happen with the mind. I mean, after it was all over with, after you survived and everything, all the pieces were picked up, then is when your mind went, what could have happened? That's when the shock set in, when your mind touched you.
Post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic stress. That's right. Right in the moment, you were in your intuition. This is the kind of thing that we're going to be moving further and further into as we evolve consciously. Because events are going to be happening more and more like that automobile accident. Just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything happening quick. And it's going to be your own trust of you knowing what to do that'll get you through it. You stop to think about it, I'm sorry. There's more detail about that but later. So, intuition is going to be the key. In fact, I mean, we all kind of know that already. That's what we've been doing all of our... I mean, how many people have been in this for like 20 years or more? Okay. I mean, I bet everybody in here has read a stack of books at least this high, right? And what were they all about? Every bit of it was about your intuition, wasn't it? This way or that way to get your intuition in gear and keep it there. Well, now it's not just a study or just a practice. Now it's going to have to be applied. We're all creators, but the thing that we want to create most is peace of mind, isn't it? I mean, I think that's the most useful thing to have, is peace of mind that you can then operate from. A calm, knowing, great, peace of mind. Well, at least half of those books were about peace of mind, weren't they? And peace of mind seems to come and go. I kind of boiled it down a little bit on where or why it goes, because I thought that was really important to know. And what it came to was, anytime something happened in my life that I didn't intend, my peace of mind could leave. Whether it was something exciting and surprising, or something deeply depressing, or infuriating. It was those times that I was knocked off and my mind took over. There went the intuition, there went the peace of mind, because something happened that I didn't intend. Like, losing somebody's phone number, or my wallet. I didn't intend that. Right? So, how do you build peace of mind, and how do you get it back? Every time. Well, here, let's look. Peace of mind only happens when you're centered. Yes or no? when you are centered, we're going to put centeredness here. Centeredness is the criteria. You got to be centered to have peace of mind. Good advice, but how do you get centered? Where does that come from? Centeredness comes from certainty. When you're certain about stuff, then you're centered. Has anybody taken dance lessons? Two-step or tango or any of cha-cha, any of that? Okay. When you first started taking those lessons, did you have peace of mind?
Hell.
No. Were you centered? No. Not unless it was my right foot over my left. Centeredness. Certainty, well, no, there wasn't any. Not until you had recognized the patterns associated with the dance did you get certainty. And then some centeredness, balance, and peace of mind out on the dance floor. Same thing happened when you were learning how to tie your shoes. Same thing happened when you were first learning how to drive, or operate a computer, or do math. Every single thing you've ever done has gone through this. When you recognize the patterns, then you became certain, then you were centered, then you could have peace of mind about that. So, the task then is to every time something happens that disturbs your peace of mind, immediately look for the pattern. Wow. Is there a pattern here? I found one right away. Every time I look, first of all, if I was upset, I say, is there a pattern here? Yeah, I've been upset like this before. I've had this experience before. Maybe over something different, but I've had the same feelings, the same reactions as before. There's a pattern. And right away, immediately, I got more certain. I got certain I was upset. Rather than just being upset, you know the difference? When you're just ranting and raving and screaming and la la la, or you just sit there and you go, wow, I'm upset. Big difference, isn't it? The more you recognize the pattern, the more certainty you get, the more centeredness, the more you can do about the situation. It's, like I said, these are tools we've already got. We don't have to go buy anything. You don't have to read another book. Yeah, we don't have the time to read the books. We got phones to answer. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's going on in our civilization is that once you recognize the pattern, that's all great. Then we do this. We repeat the pattern. Repeating the pattern is kind of comfortable, you know? It's familiar. We repeat the pattern. And then we repeat the pattern again. Now, this isn't only just done on our part. It's done by our societies. We repeat the pattern, and repeat it, 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 and... Do you know what happens when you do that? Hypnotism.
This is without recognizing that there's a pattern.
This is, yeah, like for instance, when you go drive, I've been driving around Canada and U.S. too, and I've noticed that I could drive into any city and pretty much know within 10, 15 minutes where stuff was, because they're all set up the same. There's zoning laws, you know. Well, all the industry is going to be over here on this side, out of town. All the major shopping is going to be right over in here somewhere. And then when you get to the shopping center, it's a McDonald's and a Wendy's and a Burger King next to a Home Depot, which is next to a Radio Shack, and it's boom, 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 like a pattern, like a formula. You understand how many formulas and patterns we have that we're living in? It's pattern, 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 repeated, repeated, repeated. From when you first started going to school, even before that, with television. Repeated, 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 repeated. More and more and more, which lays in hypnotism. Now, how do you break out of that? How do you break out of a hypnotic state? You do something different. That's how you do it. You make a novel thought or action is how you do it. And you wake right up out of this. Like on vacations. How many people are taking vacation? Pretty much everybody. Okay, did you feel different? Did you feel more alive? You know, like food tasted better? You know? Why was that? Because you were spending more money? No. It's because you were doing something different. Now, the camera's on me, not on anybody else. How many people in this room have driven to their place of work or home, and then as you're sitting there, you realize you don't remember driving home or to work? That's hypnotism. Okay? Now, you guys have heard as above, so below, right? You believe it?
Yeah.
Well then, don't you know that also means so below as above? It ain't a one-way street. So there are certain physical principles that we can look at that then translate into higher aspects. Like this, for instance. This is my best attempt at a gyroscope. A gyroscope is a balanced mass around an acknowledged center. Here's a balanced mass, the whole enchilada, around a center. Now, we, each of us, have a center. And that center is your intuition. Do you go with that?
Yes.
Your intuition is your center. Now, the way a gyroscope works is you move it, the faster, as a matter of fact, the faster you move it, the more change you introduce to this balanced mass, the more stable the whole thing gets. This is wonderful. We have a constant acceleration of change as our future. Everything is going to be changing faster and faster and faster. What that means is that as a being, as long as you're centered, you're going to be getting more and more stable. It's already happening. More and more people are learning that their intuition is the tool to use to survive. They're getting more certain about that. Have you heard about the elephants in the Tsami? Right? All the animals made it out of there. Their intuition brought them along. Did you hear about the stories about in the Midwest? They just had 500 tornadoes this last year. And there were lots and lots of stories of miracle survival. And it was always the bottom line, the same word and the same story was intuition, or just knowing what to do or what not to do. This is getting more and more public, that intuition is the way through. And as more and more and more changes in your consciousness of 3D, this is all of this is your consciousness over here, of your experience in 3D, the faster and faster it changes, the more and more you're noticing. So the more and more stable or centered you become. Now, that's how it would naturally go. What happens if you do this? Let's take a chunk out of the integrity of this gyroscope. And this, now we're getting a look at what's going on and why it seems so difficult. You take a chunk out of this, and now let's spin it and see what happens. It's going to break this axle right off. Without the integrity, this centering doesn't occur. You know some people who don't believe in their intuition? Don't even think it's there? You know those people very good? Because I'll bet you look into their lives and there's going to be some integrity issues. What happens, see, is as soon as you step out of your own integrity, your mind steps in with all the reasons that you're not in your integrity. All the excuses. And it just keeps coming. 24 per second. When I'm talking about personal integrity, I mean following your heart. That's your integrity. Following your heart. And people have all sorts of reasons for not doing that, don't they? And the people with the most reasons have the less trust in their intuition. Have you seen that? They don't believe it's there, they don't trust it's there. Because the mind has stepped in between them and their intuition. I know people who are working at jobs that know that the job is killing them. And their relationships. And they keep going. Because they have to pay the bills. You see, there is two brands of integrity. There's two brands. There's personal integrity, which is wholeness and forthrightness. And then there's institutional integrity. Institutional integrity, or power integrity, is can you keep a secret? That's their integrity. Can you hold a secret? If you can, you're an honorable man. And if you can't, you're not going to go any higher. That's the way that works. So power has had its own brand of integrity, but it hasn't been a wholeness. There have been secrets. There have been holes in this balanced mass. And what we're seeing now, as things speed up, as circumstances come faster and faster, we're seeing corporations, religions, relationships of all kinds flying apart for the lack of integrity. That's what's coming forward. That's what like I said before, integrity and ethics is the issue. And it's going to become more and more so from here on forward. Now, there is no thing to do about this. There's no doing here. There's not really any having here either. There is being. And that's where we're headed back. And I wanted to show you this next chart here about how we manifest ourselves into new states of being or new states of havingness and doing. And it's a regular formula that we can follow. I'm going to go through this again and we'll do a little bit more detail to it. Attention. These are the foundations of manifestation in the third dimension. First of all, attention. Showing up. Registering, witnessing what's going on. It's not easy to do this. Have you ever sat down in front of somebody, even somebody you like, and just try to pay attention, just look at them in the eye, and have them just look back at you? I mean, 5 minutes into it, your eyes feel like they're going to burn out of your head. All you want to do is just pay attention. Well, sometimes things hurt. It's hard to pay attention during that. Sometimes things feel really, really good. And people back off from that experience. Blown away. And they stop paying attention. They disconnect. It's like pulling an appliance out of the wall. Boom. It just, you have to be paying attention. And having an intent. An intention of what you will be in the future. Your intention is you setting yourself up to be, to exist in a future moment with certain circumstances. Future, here we go. When you're paying close attention to what's actually going on and you have an intention, you're set up for being able to create or manifest your future. It's like this. You're walking through the garden. You're paying attention to the ground and where the steps are and where the holes might be. This way you make it through the garden. If you're not paying attention to where you're walking on the plants, which isn't a part of your intention, do you see? It's just that on your face. Attention first, intention. Integrity. Integrity is the gatekeeper. If you don't have personal integrity, then you're not going to be able to touch or contact your intuition, which is your connection to Source. And there, your ability to manifest goes right out the window. Attention, intention, integrity, and intuition. Integrity, this is like I said before, is a fail-safe for being able to manifest what it is that you desire, or what it is that, when I say you desire, I'm saying that to this group because we all desire to evolve and help each other evolve. We know that. This whole working, this whole foundations of magics is not so much for us and what we specifically want, like, 2 Jaguars and yacht or anything like that. This is about manifesting the next steps in our evolution. What is it going to take for us to continue to go higher and higher in our abilities and be more and more responsible? And it takes these steps and stages. It's not only about stuff. Understand? It's about states of being. How do you manifest higher and higher states of being? Paying attention with an intention, in integrity, so that you're connected to Source. I mean, we all of us, we have been doing in order to have. I mean, since you were a little kid, what are you going to do when you grow up, right? It's like, here we are, we've been doing stuff in order to have things. And it's gotten to where now we have to do stuff. You have to do it. Just to keep yourself going. The thing that we've missed out completely, or most of society has, is the being part. Be, do, have. So now we're just working it the other way around. Now we have these tools. You have these tools. You can do the paying of attention, the setting of an intention, working on your integrity, being forthright and honest, and even if it's just admitting mistakes. And then connecting to your intuition. That's what makes it happen. So what we're going to be doing this on a faster and faster and faster basis. In other words, it used to be that there was only so much happening in a certain period of time, only so much happening, and there was only so many intentions in a certain period of time. You know, there's so many opportunities or openings, and there's so many intentions. So each one of these is like a coincidence. A coincidence of intent and opportunity. What we're seeing now, though, is that there's this rapid acceleration here of more intentions and more. It's sort of like sheets for kale, you know, red count. So what do we have is lots and lots more synchronicities and coincidences. Have you noticed? You send out an intention, and bam, it meets an opportunity right away. So this whole thing is going to be working faster and faster and faster. When you send out an intention, it's going to come like that, which is part of this stability here. As you see it working quicker and quicker and quicker, you're going to become more and more certain, more and more stable about the fact that you can manifest your own reality, that you already are, and you can get better and better at it. And this is the steering wheel, more or less.